Hi. Okay. So we'll
Hi.
see how this goes and see if I don't have any video interference.
That was crazy.
That was crazy. And like I said, I swear people would not believe me if they didn't work with me or was not in my circle, because I have that happen so often that when I'm doing classes, and I'm going to sit back or scoot that back so I can sit up. Because as you know, I'm on this crazy super manifestation wave. And so I'm building all this stuff. And so it doesn't remotely surprise me. It's just, my assistant's going to laugh so hard. My kids are just going to laugh. They're just going to be like, yep, that figures. But the funny thing is,
let's say what you're referring to, also what we're talking about here.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have electronic issues whenever I launch a class or whenever I do something. And during the podcast, my phone, what happened was my phone started just ringing. And there was somebody on there who I have no idea who it was, but when it started ringing, it cut me off. And I do my podcast through an app on my phone because that's how they like me to do it. And so it started ringing. I'm still talking because I'm thinking that, I'm just thinking I don't know what I was thinking, but then I realized there's nobody there. And so I had to go back into the show app really quickly and get back on there. But I know people always think that it's funny because I was talking to my Facebook groups about this. For me, when I'm on something good, where I'm going to tell some good information, or something is going to raise people's vibration who's listening to me, that will be when I have technical difficulties. Hands down, always. And some people are like, well, that's good to know, because I thought, like, if I kept running into all these blocks, that it was meant, like, don't go that direction.
Right.
It's a block. You're not supposed to go this way. And I'm like, no, not always, and not for me.
Right.
They start throwing up roadblocks in front of me and trying to mess with my communication stuff and whatever. I know for a fact that I am on the right track.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole entire point. And by I get a lot of spirit interference. So if I'm on the right track and moving forward in raising people's vibration, they will put roadblocks and different things to try to shut that down and limit what I can do, or hope I give up, because believe me, sometimes I'm just like, okay, I'm over it. Like, I don't even want to give this information anymore. I'm out. Then I come back again, of course.
Yeah.
But it can be really frustrating.
Yeah.
So how did you feel about the show how did you feel about the Energy Eclipse show?
I loved that you were talking about the energy waves coming in and about the energy of the eclipse. And I loved how we talked about both sides of it. Like, oh, I felt great. And I had this manifesting energy, and I had a surge of energy, and I was decluttering. And then you also talked about the people that may have felt cranky and actual physical ailments in their bodies, things like that. So I think that was perfect that we touched upon both sides of it. And then it is a super powerful time energetically. After the eclipse, we're going into Mercury retrograde.
Right.
Which I know a lot of people going into Mercury retrograde, a lot of people are like, ugh. But I never really feel that way. And I know you don't either.
I don't know. It doesn't affect me how other people, I will notice things with electronics, but that literally is way more tied to what I'm doing on a spiritual aspect than it is where the planets align. So it's definitely, there's some really cool things that can happen around Mercury retrograde. People just don't really talk about it.
Yes.
Yeah,
I agree.
It has a negative stigma to it.
It does.
I don't have the negative effects or the negative view on it as everybody else does.
For me, Mercury retrograde is a time to kind of slow down
Mm-hmm.
and pause and revisit things, make sure things are not, make sure things are, ducks in a row, like revisit, relax,
Right.
right? Renew. That's how I
during,
go into it.
during that time is also a time to maybe hold on some stuff, but there's always then a renew, like you said, a renew pattern, a time to actually then pick up things right after.
Right.
So it comes in a whole. This eclipse energy would have been like Mercury retrograde on steroids for some people, though. Like,
yes,
it was causing, like I said, with this and with the vision that I've seen, it's actually meant we've moved a phase, literally. So it's like how he's trying to explain on the podcast is, yes, people are seeing changes in the vibrations raising, and it's raising and it's raising like this as we move through the months and the weeks and the years. But with this eclipse, we did this. So it was like a step, and then we'll continue to raise more until our next phase. And that's what I was shown. And from what I was feeling with the whole thing, it was definitely an indication of that as well. Because for me, specifically, a lot of past stuff just vanished, disappeared. And then I went into entirely restructuring, like even my business. I just all of a sudden had the urge to restructure completely foundationally. So as we go to the next phase, I think a lot of people are going to be feeling like the foundation of their life or where they're at, whether it be business or relationship or whatever, they're wanting to kind of revisit and stabilize and restructure and reorganize the basis of where all their stuff comes from.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So I think that, and business-wise or personal-wise, if you're feeling in alignment and people are wanting to make a big purchase, or if they're feeling like wanting to make a big move, or if they're feeling like they're wanting to open a business or open something, a new division or whatever. I mean, right now, the energy it's optimal for that. Like I'm assuming it aligns with people's astrological charts as well.
Well, you mentioned that, but what about during Mercury retrograde? A lot of people are advised to not go into big purchases and not fill out contracts. So what is your take on that?
My personal opinion is I think that you should follow whatever you feel intuitively, because everything is different for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But my personal choices have nothing to do with Mercury retrograde. So as I'm restructuring and as I'm doing some new projects and literally launching some different aspects of my restructuring process right now, Mercury retrograde has nothing to do with it. It all has to do with intuitively, the timing is optimal and phenomenal right now for me until I can see until the end of the year. And then in 2018, everything even gets more heightened. So I feel that that's what this phase is going to bring, heightened in a good or not so good way, like depending, like I said, one of the things that I've not really seen before is people are talking about, you know how they used to talk about like, I don't know how you would explain that, but the income divide, like where it would be very much like apart, like people would either get really a lot richer or a lot poorer, but there was, the economy would cause this definite rift. Right. I'm beginning to see that astrologically and on a spiritual level with where people are at spiritually and with their vibration. With this phase, you will definitely, I am absolutely seeing a rift. So I'm seeing where if you're in, and you don't have to be in complete alignment. So people don't have to be like, oh my God, am I aligned? They don't have to freak out. But if you're mostly aligned and moving and following, paying more attention to your spiritual body, releasing old stuff, you're going to find that you do this. Those trying to control their future and trying and harboring past stuff, they're going to be going like this. And so there's definitely going to be this, it's happening now, because that was something I was sort of blindsided by. I didn't expect the divide to be as clear. But it's a very clear thing. You don't even need to do what I do or you do to know which side of the coin that they're landing on. You can just have them explain how they feel like they're doing in life in general at this point in time, and you will know which side. But the good thing is, if you find that you're on the more intensified, I want to control my life, things aren't turning out the way I want to side, you can still shift that. Doesn't mean you have to stay on that, but you do have to revisit where you're at and what issues you're harboring right now that are causing you to be stuck and not advance. So the only analogy I can think of is that same thing where, like, the helium balloon, they always attach them to the sandbags.
Yeah.
Anything that you're harboring and holding on to in your energetic field that you feel like is holding you back, making your life not turn out the way you want it to, or causing you to feel unhappy, any of that stuff that you're holding on to, and let's be clear, nothing's causing you to feel unhappy. It's your reaction to things and people and situations. So if you're choosing to harbor, this made this impact on my life and this made this impact, it will be a sandbag, and you need to clip all the sandbags in order for you to float up with that vibration, you know? That's
a great analogy. And so as you're talking, I always see when you're talking, when people talk, I'm seeing. And so I'm seeing that this is such a great, powerful time for personal development, whether or not you are in the healing field, or not. It's just personal development, period. Yes. Learn how to release, learn how to let go. And that stagnant energy that people feel when you talk about that divide, that stagnant energy, a lot of it is self-limiting beliefs that you must learn to release and let go of. And also I'm seeing that it's people who are stifling themselves by not expressing themselves, by not using their gifts in the world. It creates a stagnant, static energy within your own system, within your own body. So yes, this new energy is I feel like it's pushing humanity forward. It's really pushing humanity forward. And it's up to this another level. You talk about love. I mean, it's like a returning to love. I keep hearing a returning to love. That's what we're all here to learn.
Yeah, except for then you have, when it's pushing you forward, you have people digging their feet into the ground, going, I don't want to go forward. I don't want to move. And that's when they're literally feeling physically uncomfortable. I mean,
they're out of their comfort zone.
You will find that people, if they're struggling with ailments, their ailments are probably more intensified. So like if they're struggling with aches and pains, fibromyalgia, things of those natures, you're going to find that they're definitely physically in a more uncomfortable space as well. Right. And so, like I said, this can always be changed, but I just find it really interesting what's happening. And I find it interesting, the resistance that some people are still experiencing. You know what I find most interesting? I find so many things. I really am fascinated. And this is what drives me to teach, is I am so fascinated by people's spiritual journeys and the choices that they make. And one thing that I am constantly amazed at is when people, if somebody else is making a choice in their life, I always have this thing of, and this sounds weird, but I'm always like, okay, so how is this like literally affecting my life? Because if it's not literally affecting my life, like something that I need to address, then I refocus my energy to somewhere else, because I know I don't have much control over the choices that these people are making.
Right.
But I find it interesting how many people get really upset by choices people are making.
Because, one, they take it personally. if it's like somebody that they know or somebody in their family, they take it personally. And two, they are absorbing that energy from them. And it takes practice. Like you're a pro at observing and watching and not taking on all that energy. So you are aware of how people are navigating, how people are making choices moving forward. A lot of other people who are just now getting in tune with energy, with their own energy, don't you think that as they get in tune and aware of their own energy, they become more sensitive? So then you need to add to your toolbox of how to not take on other people's energy.
Yeah, I think that the more you become aware, of course, there is heightened sensitivity and your abilities heightened. But I think that still, even moving forward, people still take on a lot of other people's stuff as their own stuff. Even if you teach them, I think that comes with people wanting to control their environment, and
that's true too.
They're wanting to control, like if so-and-so's not doing well, they feel uncomfortable. And I guess one of the things I personally practiced because I had to, because again, a lot of this came about because my abilities are so high that I have to be really aware and really careful of my surroundings and my environment to stay healthy. Truthfully, that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah,
I need to stay healthy because I have kids and whatever. So I kind of have to choose me, which is why choose, my health, which is what I try to teach other people to do. But I think it's still hard. If so-and-so is doing this or so-and-so is doing that, it makes them feel uncomfortable because they know they can do better or that they're making a mistake or whatever. And I just find that kind of interesting because you don't have any control over that journey, which we talked about in some of the other stuff. But how this relates to this particular topic is I think that people harbor those things as they're trying to move forward. So if they are now on their own spiritual journey, if they're feeling upset or depressed or worried of all the other people and their choices they're making in their life, and now you add this eclipse energy, and it's going to intensify the stress and worry that you're experiencing. That, to me, is back stuff that you need to let go of. Because if you don't, now nobody's healthy.
Right.
And you will, because of this intensifying energy, you're going to find that it is affecting you a lot more so than it was in the past.
Yeah.
So letting go is not easy, but it's necessary, especially with this new phase. Yeah. We are being forced. I think that might be part of this new phase. We are being forced to address letting go of things that are not healthy for us to harbor and hold on to. And that's probably our first lesson as we're trying to raise our vibrations as a whole, is that I don't think people are aware that it sticks. So as this energy field comes through, as this energy wave, comes through, that the first time that they're aware that it's sticking in their energy field, anything they're holding, is when they're feeling uncomfortable. I really don't think people are aware that you have a field and you have a bubble of energy around you, and there is stuff you can't see that is in this area and that makes up your energetic field, and it sticks to you. Mm-hmm. I don't think that there's enough talk or awareness about that.
I describe it as silly string, that energy, that stickiness. So from past, it's like stuff happened, right? Stuff happened, things people said, and then it sticks on you, right? And so it gets very messy. So I briefly spoke about on the show, physically, cutting your cords. And you can think, it's good to, think, shift your thoughts positively to release and let go, but also physically moving your body. So rubbing your hands together, cutting from your ankles, your knees, your hips, our physical body. That's where we carry our history, is in our hips. Cutting away using your breath, your shoulders, your throat chakra. And then I have my clients, so after you cut out all the energy, you gather that up and you pull it out, like get to that root, and you ask that that be transmuted to love. That is fully physically cutting your cords. And that's one tool that you can use. But I wholeheartedly agree that people are being asked to really release and let go of that old stagnant energy. Also forgiveness, ways to learning to how to forgive is very healing and releasing. Forgiveness does not mean that whatever happened is okay. It's you releasing from the situation. So,
well, and to be a little bit clear, and I did a past show on karma about this too, and with this energy wave and the new phase that we're going through, the universe and karma and all of that doesn't really hold any attachment to where you are at. Like, that's your responsibility. You know what I mean? So the universe and the universal flow, karma, all of that, it doesn't, like I said, it's not emotional. It holds no attachment. You either make adjustments to move forward and to shift things, or you don't. It's just where you're at, and that's where our free will comes in, and that's why we're here.
Yeah.
And so I think that it is hard for people to do if they don't understand what to do. But that's why we do the classes that we do and stuff. I mean, that's what drives me to do what I do. And I'm sure that's what drives you to do what you do is you do need tools. You do need to learn how to move forward. You do need systems in place. You do need to learn how to tune into your spiritual body and be more aware. You can by just reading and being aware and listening to podcasts and everything. And when you're ready to take the next step, if you really want to work with that, it's like anything you're studying, you still have to be taught systems and things. Like I said before, you were still taught to eat. You were still taught to walk. You were still taught to talk. You were taught the language. And everybody just assumes, yes, you have the natural ability, just like you have the natural ability to do the things we're talking about, but you do need systems and stuff. That's why I am still so stoked about that mentorship program, because I have all these people who are constantly saying, because I do talk about getting a mentor a lot, and they're constantly saying, like, where can I find one? And I'm like, oh, well, I do that. But I feel like I need to do more of a program for the whole, where people can just, have more access to mentorship, like on a large scale. So that's what I'm working on. But that's what's happening with me with this manifestation energy. And then plus I'm restructuring, like I said, everything that I'm doing. So personally, I'm really loving it. Besides the technical issues, I'm enjoying it so much. I feel bad for kind of some of the people who still need to release, but that's why I do what I do, is then I can teach them what to do if they're feeling stuck. What are you doing with the new energy? Are you working on, I'm just curious, like, did you decide are you doing the same stuff that you were doing? Did this energy bring about like some new creation for you? Or are you just creating still what you were already creating?
It actually, it did. Like, I spoke briefly on the radio show. It like turned up my gifts. It amplified my gifts. So for me, I realized, hearing you talk about, you felt the energy 2 weeks prior to the eclipse. I realized I had felt that too. I just thought I had a gust of energy. I was like, woo, riding that wave. But I got complete clarity on my spiritual community, the Mindful Lounge, and that Facebook group, and what exactly the Mindful Lounge is. And it's providing a platform for people who are raising the vibration in the world. And that's what the Mindful Lounge really, truly is. And it's community. It's coming together. And then, like I said, my gifts really amplified in the animal communication, it's always has been there. But it's just really turned up, and I love it. I mean, I love working with people as well. And I provide the pedal process, which is my organized reading of helping people release and let go.
But see, then that is like, for instance, the pet stuff. That's something that's been there for a while, but now it's manifesting. The mentorship stuff for me, that's been kind of, I've been trying to figure that out for about a year and a half, and then all of a sudden the clarity came. So it's like there's just a lot of clarity. I'm excited to see what clarity brings, but this wave is really going to last. I mean, like I said, it's a phase. It's not just a wave. So now we're going to stay in this clarity phase for quite a bit of time now. And it's it all comes down to what we do with it. And I'm excited to see. We're still going to have the regular energy waves that come through, and I know this. But I'm excited to see what this new phase brings. I think it's going to bring about a lot of change for a lot of people, good and not so good. But that's stuff that people have to kind of figure out. I don't really get into that, I guess, in my head. But anyways.
Yeah, I'm excited about the clarity that came with this. I'm excited to see and support other people as well as they have their clarity. It's like you with your mentorship program and all the programs that you're doing to help people really come into their own, really step out with their gifts. So I know that you've been working on that in the background for so long, and just like clicked immediately. It was fascinating to listen to how everything just lined up and realize.
Well, and I want to be clear with anybody who is in this manifestation energy. There will be work that needs to be done. Like there's going to be legwork that you need to do to move forward with anything that you're manifesting. It's not like it's going to be you hit the lottery type of thing. It's going to be that you put in the work, and you're going to have like a team behind you helping to wrinkle out or iron out all the wrinkles of whatever it is that you're doing. You may be doing purchases, like I said, or you may be doing whatever. Like even I talked about my daughter buying couches. She still has to pay for the couches, like, so there's work that is involved, but it feels nice to be having a uplifting energy flow behind us. And I'm super excited about this phase. So,
yeah.
But I think that we will wrap this up, and we will be back next week and for the next show. So I hope that this was fun, and hopefully I still can't believe the technical stuff. Oh man.
That was really right when you were going to get to the juicy part.
I'm telling you, that is when it happens. So, like, that's when I really know it's spirit interference, because it's always like that. It's always like right at the most poignant part of what I need to be doing. That will be when I will experience major issues. So funny. I mean, anymore it's funny. At least I'm not losing. I've actually lost things on my computer that I've been working on for I've done entire videos and then it wouldn't save. So fingers crossed that this saves. We actually get to upload it. So okay, but I will talk with you next week, and thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the after show. Until next week, aloha.
Bye everyone.
Bye.